Before we get started, we need to make sure we have all of the pieces. You're going to cut your shibori piece into two 14 by 16 inches of fabric. If you don't know how to cut these pieces out, I will show you in a second. Before we get started, you are going to need a ruler and a piece of chalk. We're going to assume that straight line is a straight edge. We're going to line our ruler up to that straight edge. And then we are going to find the 14-inch line and make a mark with my chalk. You probably can't see the mark I'm making, so I'm going to animate it for you right now. Next, slide your ruler down. Doesn't matter how much, it could be a lot or a little, and you're going to repeat that step. Line your ruler up. At the 14-inch, you are going to make a dash, and then we are going to connect those two dashes to create a straight line. I'm going to line my ruler up with the dashes, and I'm just going to mark all the way down the ruler. Now I have a straight line. I have two straight lines. Next, I'm going to find the 16-inch part of my ruler and line it up with that straight edge. And I'm going to make another dash. And just like before, I'm going to slide my ruler down a little or a lot, line my ruler up at 16 inches, and make a second dash. Then I'm going to rotate my ruler, line it up, and make another dash. Well, straight line actually. Now that I marked all four edges of my 14 by 16 inch square, I'm going to take my scissors and cut around. I'll fold up the pieces I can keep and put it to the side. I have a 14 by 16 inch square. If you forgot to cut out that second piece, lay your fabric out, take the one you just cut out, and line them up. We'll use that newly cut piece to be a tracer. And then we will just cut around so we have two 14 by 16 pieces. Step 1. Sew the bottom seam. With right sides together, take your two pieces of fabric and place them on top of each other. Line them up. Sew the bottom seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Unless stated otherwise, assume all the seams will be a 1/2 inch allowance. Don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and the end of your work. So I have my piece, and I'm going to take my second piece and place it on top. I like the pretty sides to face each other. I'm going to sew on that bottom edge, so I'm going to take some pins and I'm going to pin the pieces together. I'm making sure everything lines up. I'm taking a single pin, I'm placing it partially through the fabric, about 1/3 of the way, and then I'm flipping the pin up and pushing it another 1/3 of the way. You don't need a lot of pins, just enough to make sure the pieces stay together. We're going to sew that bottom edge and bring it to the machine. I'm going to line my work up with the machine. I'm going to backstitch at the beginning, and as I sew, I'm going to pull the pins out before they go underneath the foot. Again, I'm going to pull the pins out before they go under the foot. And I'll backstitch at the end. Step 2. Get the strap pieces and sew. You're going to grab 2 long strap pieces from me. With right sides together, you're folding them in half lengthwise, or hot dog. You're going to sew on the cut raw edge side. So here are my 2 strap pieces and some pins. I am folding it in half hot dog or lengthwise. Lengthwise means that the length isn't being sacrificed when I fold it. It stays the same length. I'll get a pin. I'll fold it and line the cut edges up. And place the pin in. You only need enough pins so everything stays together. I'm going to do that for each strap. And then I'm going to sew on the pinned or cut edge. I'm bringing it to the machine and I'm backstitching at the beginning and sewing down the edge. I'm repeating this with the second piece of fabric as well. And this is what it will look like when it's done. Step 3. Finish the top edge. Only do this with the top layer of fabric. Fold the top layer back. Make sure that layer measures on 1/2 inch. Press that, which means iron it. So here I am, I'm only folding back that top layer. I'm taking a ruler and I'm going to make sure that top edge when folded measures a 1/2 inch, that line. I'm having the edge of the ruler match the folded edge, and then I want the cut edge to line up with that 1/2 inch line that I pointed out. I'm still adjusting and moving it so that folded area measures a 1/2 inch tall. I'm visually looking now, and once I'm happy, I'm going to go get the iron. You only want the iron on for like 10 Mississippi, and then move along your way. That is what it should look like when you're done. There's that folded edge over, and it measures a 1/2 inch. Step 4, finish the top edge. We're going to continue and fold that top layer back again. Make sure the top layer measures a 1/2 inch again. You're going to press it and pin it. So we already have that folded edge, and now we're going to fold it one more time, and it's also going to measure a 1/2 inch. There's the 1/2 inch on the ruler, that long line. You're going to fold it over just like you did before, and you're going to measure with your ruler. You're going to press it so it stays in place. And if you look, I'm unfurling it to show you that I folded, and there we go. I'm going to get some pins, and I'm going to make sure the pin only goes in and out of the folded area, just like that. You only need enough pins to keep it in place. Step 5, finish the other top edge. Flip the bag over so the longer layer is now on top. Repeat what you did in the previous steps 3 and 4. Fold the top layer back. Make sure that top layer measures a 1/2 inch and press. Turn that layer one more time, measuring a 1/2 inch, and press again. There's the 1/2 inch, Fold your fabric over, line it up, edge of the ruler and to the 1/2 inch mark, and press. Fold it over again. Make sure it lines up with a 1/2 inch, or it can line up with your other pre-pressed side. So I'm lining up my side with the previous one that I did. So they're the same length, same height. And place a few pins in. Step 6. Insert the handles. Take one handle and tuck it under the folded edge. Pin it in place. If you're doing the reusable shopping bag, get a piece of elastic and also tuck it under the handle. So here is my finished 2 handles. And here's the elastic I'm going to grab. I'm lying to you, you really need 8 inches of elastic, not 3. So you're going to get the elastic, you're going to measure it out to 8 inches long, and you're going to cut it out. You're going to take one handle and you are going to place it underneath the fold. I like to have it about 5 inches away from each other. You can always go further apart if you want. I'm tucking it underneath the fold. I'm taking a pin and I'm pinning them in place. That elastic, I'm going to fold in half and on top of each other. I'm going to tuck it underneath and pin it in place. That one will be harder. Sew the folded edge of each fabric. Take that top layer that we just worked on, and you are going to sew that fold down with a 3/8 seam allowance. So that is exactly what I just did. Where I pinned everything and folded everything, I sewed it. I'm flipping the bag over. I'm using the next layer of fabric, and I'm repeating my strap step. I sometimes just line my strap up visually with the other side to get some symmetry. And I tuck in my straps and pin them in place. Then I'm going to sew down the folded edge at 3/8. Step 8, sew the side seams. With right sides together, place the 2 layers together. Sew the sides of your bag. I'm going to shake my bag to get the handles in a good spot. Sometimes I'll pin the handles in place. Sometimes it's not worth it. And then I'm going to make sure my bag is nice and flat. And I'm going to sew the side seams, but first I will pin the side seams. Just put a few pins in so everything stays in place. If you need to, line up the edges so they stay in place too. And then go to the machine to sew those edges down. Step 9, sew the handles flat and turn the bag right side out. Flip the handles out as if you're ready to use the bag. Then sew the top part of the handle down close to the edge or 3/8 away from the folded edge. This was a confusing one, so let me zoom in and show you what I'm talking about. We have all the edges finished, and those are my handles. I need to flip them as if we're, actually using the bag. And then I'm going to pin it in place. This is really how we want our handles. I'm going to flip the bag over, repeat that step with the other set of handles. Don't pull too much, just enough. And then we're going to take it to the machine to sew. You can sew up there, or you can sew at the same stitch area that you did before. So this is how it's going to line up in the machine. I'm lining up my foot with my previous line that I stitched on. You see the center of the foot and the line lining up? Then I'm going to drag everything so that we're ready to sew. Then, if you did the reusable shopping bag, you will hand sew on a button. You'll get a button from the drawer, and I'll give you some thread and teach you what to do for this step. And then you'll be done. Congrats!